Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Latched Mama podcast. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, the Latched Mama podcast is a podcast for parents in the trenches of motherhood. Today, we are talking about siblings and sibling arguments and basically my life all the time.
You're listening to Latched Mama podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, busy mom of 6 and owner of LatchedMama.com. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, postpartum, and all things motherhood.
Hi, Lindi.
Hi.
So for those of you who do not know, Lindi and I have 12 kids combined, ranging in age from, how old's Lennox?
14.
All the way down to Matthew is 1. We do not live together, although this is coming across like we did. It would be really fun to be sister wives, though.
Would it be?
Would be. Like, could you imagine just living in a compound with 12 kids running around?
Yeah.
There would probably be additional fighting, additional arguments.
Probably. Yes.
But I don't know if your house is anything like my house, but I feel like sometimes I'm in like the African jungle. There are lions, there are tigers, there are bears, there are...
Yeah, and what ages and... just go down.
Oh, my ages right now?
Yeah.
My ages
and it's
are
like boys and then what do you...
I have we're getting into an odd year. So our next year is an odd year. So I'm going to go with the I'm going to go with the 2023 numbers, which are 11, 9, 7. It's really not that hard. 11, 9, 7, 5, 3 and 1. Yeah, thank you.
You've really done like the two.
Yeah. So my
nice
2023 are all odd numbers. So this was a topic that was given to us from our sweet Latched Mama team here. Sometimes they give us topics thinking that we're going to talk about them professionally with like data and stuff about how much siblings are supposed to argue and when you're supposed to get involved and when you're supposed to let them work it out. And Lindi was like, let's just tell them what we do. And then I started laughing and I was like, but I have no idea if what we do is going to
actually...
they
connect with us.
Yes, but is actually going to like make great humans. In the end, I mean, I enjoy my kids now, but I mean, an 11-year-old is not going to potentially be a great 18-year-old or 20-year-old or whatever.
So then... what did we find?
So then I found this post that was shared by one of my friends on Instagram this weekend, and I took a quick screenshot of it, and we just pulled it up now because that's about how much we prep for these podcasts sometimes, especially during Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And I said, hey, let's read this really fast. Let's see if there's a study. Let's see if we're doing it right before we podcast about it. So we went through the Instagram slides and it led us to a blog. And Lindy's going to read you guys the 3 steps that we're supposed to do when your kids fight.
Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Step 1, we're going to pause and assess.
Okay, this is the funniest one because how many times do I ask my kids to stop fighting? How many times do I ask them, especially in that like after bath time, before bedtime, when they're just like naked wrestling or like literally are so worked up and their like nervous systems are so excited and they're laughing and they're giggling, but yet they're arguing, but they're fighting, but somebody stole something from somebody and somebody threw soap at somebody. And guys, stop. It's bedtime. Guys, it's bedtime.
Is the pause and assess for us?
I don't know.
I'm just trying to... Is it like pause before I lose my ever-loving mind? Maybe there's more.
I cannot get them to pause. The idea of them pausing, and maybe they'll pause for a second and they'll look at me because I'll threaten them, which I'm like not like threaten like taking their phone away.
On the lit. That's
like
not step 2.
So telling them that I'm going to take electronics away from them or telling them that they're going to have to go straight to bed is not on this child psychologist blog that we're reading. I don't even know who these people are. So
yeah. Your step 2 is based on your pause and assessment. You're going to respond.
What does it say? Okay, can we just talk about the fact?
I'm sure there's really good stuff in here. It just makes me laugh because
this is the advice that moms get, like all the time about everything. Like literally, like, hey, go read this blog. It's gonna help you make the right decisions. You read the blog and it says make a decision. Like it says you should know.
Yeah.
You should know when these arguments better not. All right, read step 3. Step 3 is the best one.
Step 3 is you need to get curious and
If that
teach
is
skills.
If that is not the answer to just about
I'm sure
everything in
there's
life.
some good stuff in here, but
Oh my
the
god.
3 steps, if that is all you read, or
Dude.
the just the basic 3 steps,
I
as a mom, like falling apart one day, everybody's fighting, like I'm not going to get anywhere.
And how many of my hours of the day
Yeah.
do I actually spend curious? I spend all of my hours of the day curious, and it does not lead me to find the right answers in mother. Like it, I mean, yes, it does, because then I make a decision based on whatever I find when I'm curious. But
Yeah.
like, guys,
So
come
like,
on.
what do you do?
What do? I threaten to take screens away. I threaten to send them to their beds. I tell them to stop touching each other, and it works itself out. I mean, we have non-negotiables. We've talked about it before. I don't like bad words. I don't like mean things.
Yeah.
I would much rather, and I don't want them to resort to physical violence or hit each other, but like smack as they're like walking by is not good. It happens, but I would take that. That's going to make me probably get less activated as a parent than like one of the boys calling their sister fat. And I know I sound like a terrible mom. Like all of this stuff happens inside of my household, and like I shut it down and we talk about it, but I don't know what household it doesn't happen in.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel a little like nobody's shaming me right now, but I feel like a really bad mom to be like, they test things. They're safe. They feel safe in their house, and they're going to test the limits, and they're going to be little shit sometimes, I feel like. No,
I agree. And I think some, on a couple of said slides, not the blog, there were some good things, like times when you should step in, or when times where these situations of them going back and forth is them figuring out how to navigate themselves,
Absolutely.
these things themselves
100%.
at school, in social situations. And there's definitely been times where I have looked at them and I'm like, there's not much I can do for you in this situation. You're going to have to go and keep figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Or like I'll look at them if it's not something that I feel like needs to be addressed immediately by an adult. I will look at them and say, have you gone and told your brother or your sister how their words made you feel?
yeah.
And it's normally met with a no. And I sometimes send them back there to the wolf's den or whatever is happening to try and see if they can work it out. Most of the time, by the time they get back to the situation, it's changed. Everybody's moved on to something else, and they go play appropriately. But I'm like, you guys really need to learn how to tell each other how it's making you feel. Like you need to stay in that moment with them if they can hear you and actually talk about what is happening.
And it's probably skills that are like kind of above their head that I try to
100%.
put on them and I try to throw at them. But for the most time, kids they're just selfish. So all they're thinking about in that moment is me, and what I want, and who he did this to me and he was mean to me. And I'm like, if you can try and slow down and think about why Estelle wanted that, or why maybe she's mad. Like, you didn't do anything. So obviously she's struggling with something else. Like, try to think about somebody else, the other person, and why they're mad, or what they did to you, or what they might need, and stop always only thinking about yourself in that moment.
One of the things that gets me, I think probably because I didn't grow up with boys at all, is like the constant boy touching, fighting. Like a lot of times it's naked, sometimes it's not. It's very, very weird to me. It's very different. It's been happening since my kids were young, because I have boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. Matthew's not really into it yet, although he sometimes gets into it now. But it's the 3 boys will get into this tussle thing, and I'll sometimes look at Eric and I'll be like, what are they doing? And he's like, it's how guys go after girls or something. It's like how guys like he brings it back to like villager times and like caveman times, and I always look at him and I'm like, but we're not in caveman times, and they need to learn. And where I struggle is like not with like the laughing and the poking and the tickling and the rolling around where I can see everybody's having fun, but I know without a doubt, somebody's going to get hurt. Like it's going to break. Like at some point it's going to break. And I remember those times of just being a kid and being so out of control and almost like drunk with laughter and drunk with just silliness. Like I remember that. So like I don't want to take that away from them, but I also know somebody's going to cross the line somewhere. Somebody's going to get hurt. And then I'm going to have this like disaster on my hands at 9 o'clock. I mean, I'm not talking like stitches or a broken bone, but somebody's going to cry. Somebody like, and it's going to be a nightmare. So when do you stop it?
So Matt looks at me. He's like, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, what? And he's like, just don't do it. Cause like they will start doing something and I will pause them before it's gotten to said level that I know it's going to get to said level. And I'm like, I just need to know you are both in on this game. Yeah. You both understand that you're both consenting. So if something happens, which it will, and I do it every single, he's like, don't do it. And I'm like,
it's Eric's the same way.
But it's going to happen. Like it is going to happen. I will bet $1 million right now that somebody's going to get hurt and somebody's going to get mad. Yeah. Well, I said stop. And the other one's like, well, you didn't tell me what to stop. But I said stop. And I did stop, but you're still touching my leg. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we just covered this 5 minutes ago when everybody was on board with the game. And like, he just looks at me and he's like, just don't mom for a minute. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like I can't do it.
100%. And I'll look at Eric and he'll be on his phone. And I'm like, what are you do? Like, do you see them? Do you hear them? Do you see what's going to happen? Totally chilled out because it's just what happens. We should really, I wish Kennedy had a mic right now because Kennedy's from a bunch of boys. Did you guys do that? Yeah. I don't understand it.
The only thing that really bothers me is it trickles over into the girls and then I get like all mama bear and I talk about like consent and touching and whatever, but like Nora can hold her own, but then like, and it's with my oldest right now in a little bit. Like just the other night, I hear Gabe screaming at him when he's supposed to be in the shower. Yeah. And Matt and I were just looking, I'm like, so I go up there and I'm like, what is going on? And Gabe's like, he just walks up here and just takes my special blanket and like he's going into the shower. And I'm like, Lennox, why? Why? And he literally looks at me and he's like,
I ask why?
Yeah. And he's just like, I don't know. It's funny. I'm like, it's not funny to him. Oh, it's like, well, it's funny to me. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to lose my mind.
100%. Why do they do it?
He's literally going to punch you and I'm going to be fine with it. Like, sorry.
No, I'm all worked up too.
They're not even in the room like, and I'm like,
how many times do you ask why? Like just like the normal, like, hey, walk by, like, and they just do something stupid, like hit them on the back of the head, or they like steal something, or they eat the last of something, or they like,
I came up 30 minutes later and Gabe's sitting on top of Lennox, who is on top of Gabe's bed. And I'm like, what is going on? Gabe's like, he won't get off my bed. And Lennox is like, this is my bed. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't even say it's not your bed because you know it's not your bed. But like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, no, oh my God.
No. Okay, maybe we need to get off.
No, we need to get off.
I'm not pausing and assessing is what I'm not doing.
Well, I just would love to know what is happening. It's like a lot of people say the little kids do it because they want the attention from their moms. Okay. The big kids are not doing that. They don't want me in their room right now. They don't want me figuring out, like this morning I was in the kitchen and all I could hear is little Benjamin, who is not old enough to hang with the big kids. He's not old enough to hang with the 9 and 11-year-old, but he's 5 and he sleeps in their room now because they all wanted to be together. And sometimes it's really cute. A lot of times it's not though, because they can push his buttons because they're just older. They know what his buttons are, and they're stupid 5-year-old buttons, like 4 to 5-year-old buttons. And it's like, guys, come on. So I'm hearing Benjamin and I'm hearing him shriek louder and louder. And it was my mom, Eric, and I in the kitchen. And there was a nanny downstairs with them. But she had all of the kids. So there was no way that she was going to do this. So Benjamin came upstairs, hysterical crying. I'm like, sweetie, what's wrong? They're being mean to me. And I'm like, guys, what are you doing? Like, they 100% know what they're doing. But I'm like, you guys can't be bullies. Like, we can't have bullies in this family. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And, you love on the 5-year-old. And I held him and he didn't want me. He wanted my mom, which she was just tickled pink about. And I was like, what? Like, why?
But I'm like,
why?
What's the goal?
I don't know.
I think it's funny. This is what brothers do. And I'm like, no, like, I'm not just going to, like, why? Like, I want want a deeper response.
I don't
it's
think
not
you're
gonna
gonna
get.
get
I'm not
one.
gonna get one.
No, because Eric looks
But
at me and says
just-
that's what him and his brothers did too. Like it's what they do. And I remember doing it with my siblings.
Yeah.
And like,
This is what we do, Mom. And I'm like, this is where I'm like, I'm involved in this too. Because guess who has to deal with the fallout?
yeah.
Is me.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I get a say in what's happening right now because I'm the one that deals with like the aftermath, you know?
So like, I don't know, once again, we're doing a podcast on it's all normal, guys.
Yeah.
And we're all in it together. What do you do with like the little ones who like Nathan for the most part has learned boundaries. He won't step away yet, but he will, like Alex will go for blood. Like he is still in that like brain is developing, doesn't really know how not like how to take his anger and walk away because that's a better option. Nathan does. So it's really hard because Alex will now beat the crap out of Nathan's much bigger than Alex, but he'll still beat the crap out of like it's all crazy. But like in that younger age, that 3 to 5 range where it can sometimes get a little bit harder because where is the line and their brains are still developing where the line is.
Yeah.
I have found though that a lot of it is if you can just get it to calm down. If you can, I'm not saying sit on your kid, but if you can get that neurological, whatever is going on in their brain, whether it's the giggles or whether it's literally being really, really angry, and you can do the tight hugs or you can just sit with them and you can just get it all to come down, sometimes it helps a bit. Because they're just going to keep going back. Even if you like for mine, even if I separate them or I say, you sit here, like, let's take some deep breaths. Like sometimes they need a little bit more than that because then they just go back at it again.
Yeah, we do big squeezes. And I think it started with Gabe because it's that like touch and squeeze like on the joints. And I don't know what it does. I'm not a professional at all, but that's what worked for us. And I'm like, just squeeze it all out. Like you can kind of give it to me and you can squeeze it all out. But sometimes with those little ones, they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to touch you. They don't want to be near you, but they really do because they're hiding around the corner and they peek out. Is mom looking at me? Is she giving me attention? And so I just let them know like, I am here. I'm ready for a big squeeze. You can let it all go and then we can talk about it. And sometimes it takes them like, sometimes they get really angry. But actually it works.
I'm learning and I actually appreciate it now. Especially Benjamin, because Benjamin was a great 3-year-old. He was a great into 4. He always could talk to me about his feelings. He was always one that before, like his first words were feelings words, which was just really weird to me. But now he'll look at me and he'll tell me, he's like, I don't like you. I want a new mom. I'm angry. I'm hurt. You did this and it made me feel this way. And it's a great win as a mom. But oh my gosh, I think that kid doesn't like me more than he likes me right now. Just because he's constantly doing things to other people. He's constantly like getting talked to by me. He's constantly and he's
like testing.
Yeah, and he swears, which is hilarious for a 5-year-old. And we all try not to react, but sometimes, oh my gosh.
Words?
Oh no, he'll look at just somebody in the family and he'll be like, you're such a dumbass. Like, I mean, he says, and it's terrible because you can't laugh. And he's doing it because he gets a reaction from the big boys who he should not.
He thinks it's funny.
And it will all go away. I think maybe if he had been number 1 or number 2, I would be like freaking out in a therapist's office right now trying to get him to talk to somebody. But I feel like it's all gonna like, and that's I think what more years of parenting make you learn. Like it's not done from an anger standpoint. He shouldn't be saying it, but as long as we don't react, it will go away. He will learn consequences, but he's still pretty young for the consequences. Although if he was in public school, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've kind of
embraced the whole talk on the cuss words.
Yeah.
And
me too.
I think just once again, just like anything else, like educating about them and where they're appropriate and when they're not like.
And he's still the kid, like all of my kids who go to art class or go to swim lessons, and he listens, he's attentive, he's respectful, he's whatever, but then he'll just drop a word in the middle of like a family fight, and I'll be like, what are you doing? You can't do that. But then I remember it's just because he's looking for a reaction, and he's looking for,
fit in, and
us
there's
to
middle
get
kids.
There's something else.
They are.
But anything else that you do that is helpful? I mean, I getting curious. Yes. Okay. Sure. Maybe that's the right
And
answer.
maybe the getting curious is, hey, let's think about what do you need in the situation? What do you want? What do you think the other person's feeling? Why are they mad?
Yeah.
And the one thing I was going to throw in with the 3 to 5 age, I'm like, what time of day is it?
Yep. Have they eaten? Have they
Have
slept?
they eaten? Have they slept? Because all of those play into
100%.
actually even in the older ones. If it's like a 9:30 p.m. fight,
Yep.
I try to keep it super simple, try to separate them and get them to go to sleep.
Yes,
and I was like,
100%.
if this is still an issue and you're still feeling like mad or angry in the morning, like let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, food and sleep play
100%.
into fights and feelings so much.
Yeah, and as they get older, I try to get them to work together on something. So like I'll make the oldest two go empty the dishwasher, clean the kitchen, and it's their job, and they need to work it out, and they need to come together. I mean, stuff gets thrown sometime, not really thrown at each other, but you know, it happens. But as long as they can work together, sometimes that helps as well.
Just yesterday the 3 girls were making like a kitchen in the living room, and they had menus, and like I ordered dinner from the menu. But Estelle or Amelia was really mad because she couldn't figure out how to curl the spaghetti with scissors, and like, but Nellie could do it and she couldn't. I mean, it went on and on and on. And so that was one of the things I was like, well, why don't we work together to find options? Because like, there's lots of different things the restaurant needs. And I mean, it was really me trying to get her onto another track. And then she wanted to set up the hostess station, and like it stopped the fight and whatever. But
here's the deal. That is great parenting, and sometimes you have that in your tank, and then sometimes the fights happen at 9:30 at night, or sometimes you're sick, or sometimes you just don't feel like doing that. And I am not above a bribe. I am not above a threat. I am not above you just have to do what you have to do to diffuse the situation and keep moving on. So don't think that, every time our kids fight, we're giving them, the nice, soft options and giving them big hugs and being curious about their emotions and feelings. I try, but sometimes it's hey guys, if you go sit there and you sit there, and I'm going to put a show on and I'm going to give you a dum-dum, and let's all, because sugar always helps fights. Not really at all. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's sometimes.
But there are times where I'm like, I don't have the ability. Like I'm run down. I don't have, I just don't have it right now. So either separate yourself, like really, like you go do this, you go do that, like, because I don't have the time to, not the time, but the energy to work through it.
What's
right
cool, those of you with little kids that haven't reached the bigger kid ages, I can say that to mine now. Like last night they were fighting over pillows, and Nathan was taking some off of my bed, and it was like 8:00 on a Sunday night. I was done, like capital DONE for the weekend. And I said to him, I was like, guys, I'm done. I don't want my bedroom door to open again, because they were just the only two. They were waiting for Eric to put him to bed. And don't open it again. Unless somebody is bleeding or there's an emergency, please do not open my bedroom door again. If you need me, please knock first, because I just wanted to get into my book and I didn't want to deal with it. And there was nothing that they truly needed. And Nathan was running around naked with those husband pillows, like banging his brother's head. And like they were supposed to be cleaning the kitchen. And it was just like this whole big thing. But setting those boundaries with them is not a bad thing. And it's a much easier thing when they get older.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
The little ones, just hang on. Just make sure they don't get hurt. I put the boys in a brother shirt once. They still talk about it. So I took one of Eric's big oversized shirts and I put it on both of them at the same time. And I was like, you all will wear this for an hour.
I wanted to do that so bad, but we had the circle of love.
Okay.
And so they had to sit and hold hands.
Yeah.
And Lenny's like, this is not the circle of love. This is, I forget what he called it, but it was so funny. And I have a couple pictures, and not to share or anything like that, but just as like her remembrance of that time. Oh my gosh, they hated it. And they're like, he's not holding my hand. And if he lets go of my pinky, we're going to have to start over. Da-da-da-da-da. And
I've done that a few times. As well as like everybody is going to sit in the circle and we're going to say something nice about everybody else. And it's really funny because I feel like that skill must develop at different times in different kids' brains. Because Nathan still struggles with that right now. Caroline could sit and talk about what she loves about every single person in our family all day long. If you said, hey, Caroline, I just want you to sit here and I want you to write all day long about what you love about your siblings. Oh my gosh, that girl could do it for hours. And Alex is pretty good at it too. Nathan, it's all about him. So like, he's like, I like the fact that he helps me play video games when I don't understand what's going on. Or I like the fact that he'll make mac and cheese when
I'm hungry.
when I'm hungry. Like, it's so funny how like it just starts to develop. But it's also really interesting because it's kicked in with Nathan now for the first time. I mean, I think he's always felt empathy. I don't think he's like broken there. But all of a sudden he'll look at me now and he'll like have tears in his eyes and he'll be like, Mom, I have too much empathy. I have too much empathy. I don't know what to do because Alex ate all of his Halloween candy and he wants Halloween candy and I don't want to share my Halloween candy with him, but I feel really bad he doesn't have any. And what am I supposed to do? And it's these like big things.
Look at that awareness.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that he came and talked to me. I was probably tired and I probably told him that it was stupid to be worrying about candy. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I actually met him where I should have met him at that moment. I don't remember. But I don't know. It comes, you know, even those kids that you just don't, that are just, you think are just going to fight with their siblings forever. And they're such beautiful moments. That's the other thing I do is I try and make a mental snapshot and a memory of those amazing moments. Like, I'm sure when they were doing the restaurant, there were great moments where they were all getting along and you were like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I had this many kids. And like, this is such a beautiful thing. Same thing. Like, they were all raking leaves together. We went up and fed the cows last night and they were all working together. And, you know, there are all of these beautiful moments where I try and remember because when it goes south really bad, really fast sometimes.
Yeah. And I don't think it's not a bad thing. Like, they have to realize that people are going to disagree a lot. And how do you have a productive argument, if you will, discussion, fight, whatever? It can be very productive. And like, I grew up, I don't think I ever saw my parents had a disagreement or a fight. And so, you know, Matt and I have had some heated discussions where we don't agree on things all the time. And like, Gabe is like my big like empath. So he's like, he senses it off the bat and he's like, are you guys fighting? Like, you okay? And I said, you know, Gabe, like, disagreements are like all over in every day, every relationship, every friendship and all that. And I said, it's really good to see how things start, how you can work together, how you can understand where the other person's coming from, understand what you need and work together to come up with a solution. So like, the fights are not bad. It's just, how can we as parents and moms on those like horrible draining days, like, navigate through them and just like help the kids to make it into a productive thing and not just like complete bickering, which I've had those days as well.
Some of them are not going to have the skills. And like, that's where I think I struggled as a parent is like, I wanted my 3-year-old or my 4-year-old to realize how damaging their words were or realize like how terrible what they were doing could potentially be.
Right.
And then I slowly learned that it does come and they start to learn it and they will talk to you about that stuff, but you are going to go mad, I feel like, if you try and get a 3, a 4, even sometimes a 5-year-old to really truly understand like what their actions are that they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
like,
no, I agree. And this is coming from a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old. So like, no, like the 3 to 5, like
they're going to say, and they're going to do some really, really terrible things. I mean, I tell the story all the time about Googling whether Nathan was a sociopath at 3 years old because of just like, he would spit on his nannies and he would just like, he would just do stuff that I didn't understand what he was doing. And watching him turn into a human being with feelings and like being confused by the feelings because they're so powerful in terms of how he's feeling about others and, you know, feeling empathetic and stuff. It's a really, really cool motherhood thing to get to because they do get there. They do get there on their own.
But I think more so just like not shutting it down.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just kind of, I don't really want to say like embrace it, but like, I think there's things to be learned through that. Like it is okay to have arguments and to disagree and all of that. And not to just like quickly just stop, you know, which some days I do that because it's just too much. But I think there's good things to come out of it.
I think as long as they're not like physically hurting each other and their words aren't crossing any significant lines, having them be able to have a space where they can say, I'm really mad at you.
Right.
And you did this. And you know what? I don't want you to be my mommy anymore. Catherine told me that the other night. And I looked at her and I said, okay. I said, well, who's going to be your mommy then? And she goes, I'm going to find another Melissa to be my mommy. And I said, okay. I said, does her name need to be Melissa? And she goes, yes. She goes, because that's your name. She goes, but I don't want you anymore. I want another Melissa. And I was like, okay.
But how
I said,
incredible is that to
Yeah.
be like, number one, recognizing like, I'm mad at you
mm-hmm.
and this is what you did
Yeah.
and what I felt.
Yeah.
And like,
And
that's
so we sat and I said, well, do you
great.
mind if I sit here and snuggle with you while we watch the show together? And she said, that's fine. She goes, still going to find another mommy though. And I said, okay. And then we sat there in silence. I just held her. We watched a show and she circled back around at the end and she goes, Mama, I think I want to keep you as my Melissa. And I said, okay, sweetie. I said, let me know if that changes, like we can talk about it again. I said, but I love you very much. And she goes, I love you too, Mama. And she went to bed and that was it. But like my feelings weren't hurt when she told me she wanted a new mama.
no.
And her anger was probably justified. I probably had done something wrong. I probably had yelled at her. I don't think that she did something that I then reacted to, and I reacted appropriately, and she was just then reacting appropriately as well. There was probably a misstep there, and I apologized probably at some point in the process. But it's letting them have a space to have those feelings, and working through them, letting them know that anger is not wrong and being mad's not wrong, and you're going to be there to hold those feelings and work through it with them.
So what do we do with them?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.